London, 1966, a grey November afternoon. But the flags are bright, and warm hearts wait to welcome President Ayub Khan of Pakistan. At the Tate Gallery beside the River Thames, a guard of honour was drawn up, and Her Majesty the Queen waited to receive the President. He'd landed at London Airport and been met there by His Royal Highness Prince Philip, who'd accompanied him on the drive into London. The Tate is one of London's great art galleries, and although it isn't often that visitors are welcomed there, it makes a gracious background to the ceremonial of a royal reception. The Guard of Honour, mounted by the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards, had the honour of being inspected by the President. Then the royal carriages drew up for the drive to Buckingham Palace. In the first, the Queen took her place, followed by the President, who sat beside her. Prince Philip was the last to get in. The President's daughter, the Begum Nazim Aurangzeb, was in the second carriage. All along the gaily decorated route to the palace, troops from the 3 armed services stood at attention, and the Queen and the President were accompanied by a sovereign's escort of the household cavalry. In front of Buckingham Palace, Pakistanis from all over London had assembled to greet their President as he drove by on his way to stay with the Queen in her London home. At Westminster Abbey later in the day, the President was received by the Dean, who escorted him to the grave of the unknown warrior. Here the President paid tribute to men and women who died fighting for the Commonwealth in 2 world wars. After the ceremony, the Dean invited the President to sign the visitor's book. The President is no stranger to Britain. He's been a regular visitor to Commonwealth conferences and has seen the changes taking place in London. The tall buildings soaring skywards above the traditional heart of the city like signposts to space. Early on the 2nd day of his visit, the Queen and the President went to the Science Museum to open the Engineers' Day exhibition, where some of the most recent developments in engineering, from coal cutters to satellites, were on view. As a soldier himself, the President was naturally interested to see the Army's model of a Chieftain tank. In the evening, the Prime Minister and Mrs. Wilson received the President at Lancaster House, where he met ministers and prominent members of Parliament. After dinner, he was able to talk to many of them informally. Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland. And at Waverley Station, the Lord Provost of the city waited to receive the President, who had travelled overnight from London to begin a 5-day tour of Britain. The Minister of State for Scotland and a number of distinguished citizens were at the station to meet the President. There, too, were 2 little girls, Sabia Usmani and Razia Mohammed, to welcome him on behalf of Pakistanis living in Scotland. Holyrood House is the Queen's Palace in Edinburgh. The President drove there from the station and stayed in the state apartments. Later in the morning, he walked in the palace gardens, talking to representatives of Scotland's Pakistani societies, whom he'd earlier received in the throne room of the palace. Altogether, there are more than 7,000 Pakistanis in Scotland. And as the Secretary of State told the President, they and their humour have become a part of Scottish life. At Sighthill Laboratories, close to Edinburgh, the President saw some of the most advanced nuclear detecting equipment in the world. This highly sensitive camera helps doctors to diagnose diseases of the kidney, the liver, and the brain. A human body monitor, which interested his daughter, the Begum, locates disorders of the body and produces immediate evidence for medical treatment. Minerals and oil can be detected from the air with this portable equipment, which the President said might be used